Good morning, PASW staff, clients, friends. Join us for Tuesday. So yesterday we looked at your film's going assignment, Manhattan Murder Mystery. So get that into me. By today would be nice. Kind of light, suspenseful music. Nothing too scary. So it's going to be a fun assignment. And like I talked about yesterday, Tuesdays we're probably going to look at an older lesson plan class, because I want to expand on all the stuff that we've talked about and go deeper into information. So today we're going to be looking at a Bach class that premiered about a year ago. And we're going to dive into some deeper ideas that he's talked about. But first we need a review. So we're going to watch the Bach class, and then tomorrow will be more exploration on these things. So I want you to watch this. We're going to talk about his life. Again. And then I want you to pay attention to bass lines, because he's going to go into that. We're going to talk about bass lines. We're going to talk about inversions, a little bit more about that. If you don't know these keywords, that's okay. I just want you to take a listen out for this stuff. Voice leading we're going to be talking about. And then, of course, counterpoint. So we're going to go into those kind of bullet points more in tomorrow's class. So this is a little intro before the Bach review. And so tomorrow we'll kind of get more into that. So hope you enjoy Johann Sebastian Bach. So Bach, not Batch. Somebody in high school said Batch, and I never forgot that. So always know that it's Bach, German. So indeed, very German. And let's get over there. I mean, let's leave Hollywood and let's go to Eisenach, where he's born. It's kind of funny for your last name to rhyme with the place where you're born in, but that's cool. He didn't really leave Germany, and let's just get a timeline of where we're talking about too, because I'm struggling over here myself. So we looked at Vivaldi last week, the Baroque composer. We know that Baroque means ornate style, so. We looked at Baroque architecture, so this is Baroque music. That's why you're hearing all those a lot of notes, just like a lot of details in the buildings, to simplify things. So he's before Mozart and Beethoven, and that's why he's kind of considered the father. But he really wasn't discovered in a massive way until Mendelssohn came along. Mendelssohn, somebody we'll talk about too, but more in the middle of the 19th century, early 19th century is when Bach became super popular. Of course, he wasn't alive to see that, like most great artists. He's born in 1685, and he dies in 1750. So he's 65 when he dies. Dies from a complication from eye surgery. He kind of struggled with his sight a little bit, and back then, medicine wasn't like it is at all today. So. That's unfortunate, but 65 is a pretty good age to live to, and he wrote about 1,000 pieces, and mostly all of them are pretty brilliant. His whole family, uncles, cousins, parents, they were all musicians. They were working musicians. It was very much like a family of carpenters would be. You build houses. Your dad does, your cousin does, but these guys just happen to build musical inventions. So his father probably taught him to play the violin and harpsichord at a very young age, but by the time he was 10, both of his parents had died. So luckily he had a lot of brothers that taught him how to read and write and compose music, and he was a prodigy very early. The piano wasn't invented when he was born. It was really invented about 1700, so in the middle, early. So Bach did play the piano, but mostly it was organ, harpsichord, and clavichord. Keyboard instruments nonetheless, but with piano you get velocity and volume control, so we could do a whole other thing on that, but and most of his kids were all famous composers. I mean, this guy, just a massive musical family, and I think what sets him apart so much is we always come back to melody. Usually melody is something memorable, and I think his melodies still last today. I mean, don't you know this song?
Love me tenderly, and I'll give to you
So that's by the Toys, right? But that was based on this. Written hundreds of years before. Again, well, why is that? Well, great chord progressions, great melody. So that's just a little example. So what are we hearing throughout all of his kinds of music? We're hearing a lot of notes. We're hearing kind of a rhythmic engine going on. And it's not just one line. We're hearing more than one line. And we're going to be looking at something he developed and almost invented. And we're going to be looking... He was a genius at counterpoint. Counterpoint is more than two lines. So it means melody lines that kind of wind together, okay? Where they create melody and harmony at the same time. So it's not harmony necessarily, it's they're independent lines. Bear with me, this is going to be good because we're going to look at how counterpoint is used even today. So like Vivaldi, remember we thought Vivaldi was so influential and great because there's chord progressions in the left hand and melodies on the right hand. It's pretty much that's how pop music is written today. So hundreds of years ago, that's how they did it. Bach used chord progressions, of course, but he used counterpoint to outline some of these chords. Some of them were jazz chords, dissonant chords, way ahead of his time. So Bach was really great with bass lines. So we know a bass line today, and bass lines in different inversions sometimes. We looked at inversions with Bill Evans. It's basically a chord that's respelled, so the root isn't in the bottom. It's inverted to respell it in a different way. This gives it a different kind of sound. It's weird how so many notes, it sounds pleasant, doesn't it? It looks like a mess almost, but for some reason to our ears, it sounds like it's all working in a interconnectedness, if that's even a word. But it feels harmonically pleasant to us, doesn't it? So in today, so what does this mean? So a counterpoint today, it can be the difference between a melody and a bass line. So if both notes are moving at the same time, that's not counterpoint. If we have another line, that's going to be counterpoint. Now, usually in pop, it's two, maybe three voices going on at the same time. Bach did 4 and 5. I mean, that was crazy. But if we just kind of simplify it on a level, it could be like a bass line can have its own melody in a sense, and not as a solo bass, but as a bass line to a pop song. Listen to this pop song. You probably heard it. Do you see how the bass has its own voice almost, but it's still connecting very closely to the melody. It's not. It's its own independent voice, but it's not a solo. It's accompanying that melody. That's counterpoint. A long time ago, we did a class on the Beatles and classical music in the Beatles. Do you remember this solo? That's got a Baroque style, ornamentation, a lot of notes going on, but all those notes form some sort of harmony that's very pleasant. Very hard to write this kind of music, by the way. So we hear counterpoint all the time with, and we could say Bach invented it. I think for this class, let's just say he invented it. Before, the Middle Ages, music was not particularly that interesting because it was mostly just one line going on. But now Bach's using different lines. He's bringing different instruments, different textures, different harmonic possibilities that we take for granted now. But this is why he's the father of Western music. So that's Bach. I mean, we could talk about him for 1,000 classes. We could probably do a class on each piece, but that's just a pretty concise thing. So brilliant, genius, melodic composer that was the inventor of counterpoint. That we use counterpoint all of the time, and we owe it to him and it's not just throwing lines in there. It's making pleasant harmonic lines. Very satisfying to listen to. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was good. Good class for us. Tomorrow is something special. So I look forward to that. Have a great rest of the day. Love you and miss you. And see you tomorrow.